I was a child who didn't fit in, a different kind of kid, quiet and a little bit effeminate. I wasn't fond of sports. The way I spoke, my mannerism, the way I would stay home and read was different. It felt like I was not from there. I figured I must be from somewhere else. I was born in Douala, Cameroon, to a family of 8. I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers. Our house was always full. It was a happy household. But because I was different, it wasn't all that happy for me. See, I was bullied at home and outside by kids. I remember one day when a cousin had just come back from Belgium. I was 10 years old. As we were sharing some food, he turned to me and went, "For you, mademoiselle." And everybody laughed. It was funny, but not that funny. My mom laughed and repeated, "Mademoiselle." And that became my new name. Everyone would call me. Of course, they called me many other things. I would cry, and the more I cried, the more they picked on me. My mother did not really understand me. In fact, she encouraged the bullying, thinking that if I got bullied enough, I will change. She probably did not know what to do with a kid like me. Nobody talked to me about being different. But in our local market, there was this gender non-conforming person who used to walk in the market with just long braided hair and bright red lipstick, and she was just so popular, but in a strange way, because people would follow her around and heckle and call her names, and it was horrible. And my little self saw that and said, "Oh, there must be something shameful about being like that." So I began the process of correcting my behavior to appear more straight. And it was quite isolating. I kept everything inside, never telling anyone how I truly felt inside. This went all through high school. I kept just, trying to behave properly, quote. And it is during that time that I had a conversation with my mother. I talked to her about growing up, about, the resentment I had and all of that. And she tried to reassure me, and she told me she loved me. It wasn't the greatest conversation, but I am very happy we had that conversation. She and I, we loved a party. She would take me to weddings, to all types of celebration. I would be her +1. We would go and have some fun. So she had planned one time for us to go to this wedding in another city, and she gave me some money for transportation. But before going to the wedding, she had plans to go to our family farm to gather some produce that she would come back and sell. And as she got in the car, she turned to me and said, "Well, see you at the party." And I was like, "Yay, party." That evening, they called to say that my mom had died in a car crash on her way to the family farm. I couldn't feel anything. I was just sort of empty, just in shock, because nobody that I actually knew had died. And with my mom gone, I just felt like I had no more ties to Cameroon. I wanted out. And I had the feeling that my people were somewhere out there, and I just had to go. But lucky for me, I have very caring sisters. So my third-born sister stepped in to help me out, and she paid my way to go to college in Ukraine, where a doctor friend of hers had studied. So here I was, flying to Ukraine. And at first, it was tough. The weather was like stone cold and like nothing like the humid and hot Douala that I knew. And the language was very, very difficult. But after I could communicate, I started working on a bachelor in business administration. And to make a little bit of money, I was working at a local restaurant where I would stand at the door and welcome customers dressed in a full Ukrainian traditional costume. So black fluffy pants and white embroidered shirt called vyshyvanka and a tall furry hat. People would come and take pictures. It was fun to see this black guy dressed in traditional Ukrainian attire. I also decided that I wanted to learn how to play the guitar. That was one of my dreams. So I made a Ukrainian friend, and he started teaching me how to play the guitar. But we stopped at a moment. He was like, how about we start a band instead? I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do a band. So we started a band, and the band grew bigger. I had 5 other Ukrainians and myself. We started touring all across Western Ukraine, just playing music. We did that for a year, and we had an opportunity to go to China to do the same. So I took a year of school, and here I was flying to China with my friends. And China at first was a little bit challenging, because we didn't know the language or anything. We had some issues with our first agent, and some of us got sick, and we had to take care of each other. We would stay at night and have drink and talk. And honestly, with the guys, for the very first time in my life, I felt like I belonged with those guys. And to this day, my band brothers are really close. So after that year in China, I moved back to Ukraine to finish my degree, and then back to China, work a little bit, and I got a scholarship to do my master's degree in public policy in Seoul, South Korea. So somewhere during that time, I was corresponding with a friend of mine who is openly gay, writing him emails and everything. And he was confident and sort of a mentor to me. And I confided to me my thoughts and feelings about being gay. And I don't know what happened. I was typing, and I ended up pressing on the wrong key and sent that email to a family member. So that is how my family learned about me being gay. And from that moment on, I never heard from any of them. So by the time I moved to Seoul, it had been years since I had spoken to any family member. So I said to myself, well, you have to come out. If there's no one there for you, you have to be there for yourself. One thing I wanted to do was to go to a gay bar, because all that time I had avoided any appearance of being gay or being associated to any person that's gay. So in Seoul, there is a neighborhood called Itaewon, where all the cool bars where foreigners go are. And in that neighborhood, there is a street called Homo Hill, where all the gay bars and the gay nightclubs were. So I decided I want to go there. Wasn't that easy to do, because I still was very scared. So I started at night, starting at the top of the hill, just walking very fast, pretending I was just checking places and just walking and pretending I'm just passing by. I did it one time. I did it a second time at night, making sure nobody is seeing me, even though nobody knew me in Seoul. And I finally decided I need to do that during the day. So I got in my courage, and I went there during the day, and it really felt like all eyes were on me, even though nobody knew me in Seoul. And I walked, and I chose a bar, and I got in there, and I sat down. And it was just people, Koreans and Australians and British people, gay people. So I started talking to them, and some of their stories really looked like my story, and I really could relate with what I was hearing. And at one point I realized, well, these are my people. Like these are my people. And I actually like my people. Gay people are fun. We are fun. After that, I said, okay, I am also going to date openly. So I created a profile for myself with my own picture and my name, and and wanted to date. And just about a month and a half after that, I met a young gentleman named Tristan Powell. Yeah. With whom I started dating. And after a year and a half of dating, we got married and moved here to Portland, Oregon, where Tristan is from. So I wrote my family around that time to talk to them about, me getting married. I said, I'm actually happy, and this is who I am. My older brother wrote me back saying, well, I'm not rejecting you, but this is an abomination and blah, yada, yada, yada. I got no positive response from any of them. And I assume they also talked to my dad about me getting married and all of that. A little bit later, a couple of months after that, I called my dad because I wanted to share with him how I'm doing because he cares about that. And I told him, Dad, you know what? Whatever they're telling you, you have to know this. Your son, wherever he is very happy. I'm content where I am. So Dad and I, we call each other, we talk, but we don't get into, touchy subjects. So in 2019, my dad had a stroke. And they put him on the phone with me, and he kept repeating that I would only be happy if I am where you are. So it was a clue for me that I needed to fly back to Cameroon. So after a long, long time, I finally flew to Cameroon. That was during the pandemic. I couldn't do it right away, but I did fly to Cameroon last April. And it was so hot and humid. I'm like, do I belong here? But when I saw my sisters and my little nieces, they looked just like me. I'm like, this is where I'm from. These are my people. And we have been doing the work. I would write them on Facebook, on WhatsApp. I would talk to them about my life. Even at times when they didn't want to hear it, I would still tell them what is going on. I would introduce them to my husband, Tristan, and they would talk because Tristan is part of my life, and they have to know that. They are my life as well. They're part of my life. They are the one who brought me up. They're the one who sponsor me to go travel. They are my family. So that day when I was in Yaoundé, like the capital city in Cameroon, traveling to my dad's hometown. From the morning when my dad heard that I was coming to his house, he stood by his door, waiting for me. From the moment he heard the car left Yaoundé to the moment I arrived there. And we just stood there and stared at each other and hugged and stared at each other and hugged again. It was really amazing. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder. I feel like the people who are supposed to be in my life are there. And I also feel that I'm respected for who I am, because that's exactly what I want, to be who I am. Thank you.